what's going on? How does this work? How do we get into this mess? And I try and boil things down into theoretical framework. So this evening I'm going to be talking about the gender belief system and how it relates to false accusations. And I'll begin with taking a look at I think it might be an analogous sort of situation from the 1950s. So what was the witch hunt of the 1950s? Russians, yeah, it was the commies, right? Right? So that was like the collective belief system in the 1950s, that America was in great danger. Commie infiltrators were everywhere, and we were at great risk. And promising to protect us, to rid us of this peril, Senator Joseph McCarthy came to wield enormous power, right? Enormous power. Power enough to trammel over American standards of justice, right? Just like we're seeing here, right? Civil liberties, Bill of Rights, due process, all trammeled over in the name of protecting us from them. And soon, all kinds of people started wielding this same power under the same pretext. And then, not only power, but there was profit to be had, right? So that hunting communists became a career and an industry. So long as the zeitgeist, the collective, the official belief system was such that it recognized the enormity of this communist threat, McCarthy and company held almost absolute moral authority. And anyone who attempted to curtail this authority was met with brute force. At its height, McCarthyism appeared to be all-powerful, all-powerful. And then, television captured the climax of a long confrontation, right? It was a lawyer named Joseph N. Welch who levied that famous question, that fatal challenge to McCarthy. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency? And history records that as the tipping point. And indeed, McCarthy's enormous popularity evaporated virtually overnight. But you know what? I think it was the applause that came after Welch's challenge. It was the applause. That was it, because that was really the beginning of the end for McCarthyism, because that applause represented a shift in the belief system. And that shift was created by a multitude, just all kinds of people, just anybody who spoke up. Just anyone out there who nudged the belief system a little bit, who infused doubt as to the immensity of this communist threat, doubts about McCarthy himself. Doubts enough so that this mysterious belief system had shifted. It had moved enough so that Welch's challenge was met not with gasps, but with applause. It was just a few years later after that Kirk Douglas defied the almighty blacklist by presenting the name Dalton Trumbo as a screenwriter for Spartacus. At the time, it seemed like an extremely risky thing to do, but actually Douglas received no pushback at all about that. Because like McCarthyism itself, the blacklist had become a toothless anachronism. So now what's really interesting to me about this, what's juicy about this to me, what calls to me about it, is that it didn't matter how many judges and politicians were on the take. It did not matter how powerful McCarthyism had become. It did not matter how much money the anti-communist industry raked in. When the belief system shifted, when people no longer believed, McCarthyism was dead. So, it's my belief that it was the belief system that was the true source of all the paranoia and all the misery all along. It was the belief system that rendered so many so vulnerable to accusations, including false accusations of being a communist. We have belief systems now. In gender, we can pretty much sum it up. Men have the power, and women are the victims. Men have the power, women are the victims. Moreover, if women are the victims, then men, the ones with the power, must be the victimizers. Man bad, woman good, male power, female victimization. That's what I would say is the official gender belief system, what I'll call the Time magazine version of gender reality. It's taught in school, right? It's taught in school. History is the story of patriarchy. Male domination under which women were rendered property and chattel, right? And that's it. It's taught in school. Everywhere out there, basically everywhere except in this room, that's what people believe. In fact, they don't just believe it, they know it. It's known fact. It is known fact. Now, if what we know is that men have the power, then we will want to punish and take power away from man bad, the over-empowered oppressor victimizer, and we will want to reward and extra protect and advantage woman good, the innocent victim. It's not right that one faction of humanity should be granted all the power while another faction of humanity is singled out as the victims. That's wrong. And we would see that wrong corrected by countermeasures. Beliefs guide action. Social workers, teachers, police officers, judges, legislators, politicians, professionals of every ilk, all who believe will have living inside them this tendency, this urge, this impulse to want to punish man bad and reward woman good. And because this male power, female victimization paradigm is omnipresent, that impulse is omnipresent. It lives in the family. It lives in the church, the school system, from kindergarten to PhD. It lives in the courts. It lives in the government. It lives in the military, the media. It's everywhere, that impulse. And the sum total of those impulses create a world in which men decline. Could not be otherwise. college campuses. How does this impulse to want to punish and take power from man bad, how does it show up? We deprive them of due process. How do we extra protect the innocent victim? Well, we are encouraged to believe the victim. Right. Of course, Greg already covered this, right? Just one thing I would add to it is, you know, from the vantage point of a 61-year-old, the college kids, they're boys and girls, you know. And boys and girls, when they get hurt in dating, in the in the whole mating system, well, you know, they're operating on an emotional level of a 9-year-old. But the female 9-year-olds have 38 snub noses, and all they got to do is point and accuse. It's too much power for anybody to have, let alone some 20-year-old. Right? Corporate America. The boss is having an affair with the secretary, right? The assumption he has the power, she is the victim. Is that true? Is that what's going on? Well, it's possible. Could be. Or it could be that he is a soft, emotionally and sexually starved middle-aged man. She walks into his life and very quickly becomes something like his entire reason for living. So what is he going to do? What's he going to do? Wait for her to make the first move? That's putting a huge risk on all of his future love and happiness. She seems flirtatious. He's getting what he thinks, looks like a green light. So he takes a different sort of risk. He acts out. He does something impulsive. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He has the power. He now awaits her judgment, right? His life is in her hands. Will she be impressed? Will she think, "Wow, that was bold, that was great. Look at that, I like that he's the boss and he has that." Or maybe she'll think, "I've been rendered a sex object. I've been violated." So she points and accuses. Maybe she's just an innocent little young, naive woman, and he just has his way with her and discards her. Or perhaps she's a whole lot tougher than he is. A whole lot tougher than he is, right? And maybe she works this power that she has over him to expose him, to accuse him. And maybe she exploits him every which way, uses that to just skyrocket up the corporate ladder. Who knows? But if we enter into the situation with the assumption that he has the power and she is the victim, then that's what we're going to see, regardless of what's true. The irony is that believing that he has the power is what renders him powerless. Courts of law, right? Courts of law. How will we punish man bad, reward a woman good? Well, we'll throw the book at him and we'll show her informal leniency, right? And note, it's not in the books anywhere. It's nowhere written down that men should receive a 63% longer average prison sentence for the same crime. It's not written anywhere. And I know it's really, really complicated and all, but I think if you take it down to the fundamental, to the floor of the thing, I think what you're seeing there is that judges are just acting out of this impulse, to want to punish and take power from man bad, the over-empowered oppressor victimizer, and reward and extra protect the woman who's the innocent victim. shows up all over the place. June Stephenson. Remember June Stephenson? Men Are Not Cost Effective. Remember that book? What was that? What had come out of that? What was she proposing, remember? A man tax. A man tax, right. What better way to punish and take power away from the over-empowered male than to tax away his income? What better way would there be to advantage women than to redirect that income toward programs that advantage women? Now, that particular modest proposal got shot down, right? Unconstitutional. But the thing is, so long as we believe what we believe, those impulses just keep coming ad infinitum. One of the latest ones, Emma Watson, right? Emma Watson. Somehow, some little bit of the other half of gender reality manages to break through what Warren Farrell calls the lace curtain, right? And it reaches her. And she comes to know men are more likely to commit suicide. Wow. You know? Her solution, what's her solution? He for she. He for she. He for she for she, everybody for she. Well, that ought to take care of the problem, right? No men are going to want to commit suicide when everybody's for she, right? But how is it possible that that solution was met with a standing ovation because everybody in that room believed that it's not right for one faction of humanity to be granted the power, and while another faction of humanity is targeted as the victims. It is wrong, and they would see that wrong corrected by countermeasures, he for she. The belief system is the deepest, the truest source of all our gender political woes. So, if you'll allow me to dream, I would dream of a what if. What if society embraced a different gender paradigm? One that included the other half of gender reality. What if it was taught in school? What if it was taught in school that the sexes are and have always been about equal in number, evenly matched with equal overall weaponry? Right? That women and men, each through their own separate channels, have always plied an equal overall force of influence in the human system and are thus equally responsible for outcomes. Man is and has always been as victimized. That the enormous consequences and vast repercussions suffered by women for being less respected have been matched in full by the enormous consequences and vast repercussions suffered by men for being less loved. In short, it all balances out. Within a balanced gender belief system, he for she makes no sense. Man taxes make no sense. In fact, within a balanced gender belief system, such things, affirmative consent, all these things, they would not even reach consciousness. Within a balanced gender belief system, we no longer believe that men have the power. We no longer believe that women are the victims. So we would no longer feel a need for corrective measures. We would settle for equal opportunity within an equal even playing field. And feminism would be clearly revealed as essentially femalism, right? I mean, it's a special interest group. Within a balanced gender belief system, feminism could be replaced by a gender-neutral gender politics, one that would still address any and all women's issues. It just wouldn't address women's issues exclusively. Within a balanced gender belief system, social workers, teachers, police officers, judges, legislators, politicians, professionals of every ilk could be expected to do their jobs in a gender-balanced way. Balance out the gender belief system, and we balance out the one imbalance from which other imbalances derive. Balance out the gender belief system, and it really would all balance out. So, I would just like to ask for a round of applause for NCFM, who for 40 years has been nudging the belief system, has been infusing those doubts, has been questioning whether men really have the power, women are really the victims, right? And let's include AVFM, and let's include everybody, right? Let's include the whole multitude. Because that tipping point is coming. That tipping point is coming. Perhaps the red pill is that tipping point, right? We don't know yet. History will tell us. But perhaps the red pill is a tipping point. And perhaps all of us and a multitude of others are to thank for shifting the belief system enough to allow that tipping point to happen. Thank you. I invite you to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.